All right, so good afternoon. We have the pleasure to welcome Josh Krug with a K, right? Krug, who is?
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Josh Krug.
Krug?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's no O there.
A U.
It's a U, okay. Yeah. Okay, Josh Krug.
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 Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, so anyway, Josh is with us. He made it all the way from Alto. Way. And Josh is a very cool guy. I just had 5 minutes talk with him, so he's cool. So we're going to talk about whatever he wants, but Josh has been all over the world. Is that correct?
That's right, Aline. It's so good to be with you today.
Thank you. So you went in Europe and Asia?
That's right.
And what's your favorite country so far? I mean, I know you're not too old yet, but so far at this level of your life, what's your favorite country?
That's a good question. It's very hard for me to choose. The one that's coming up right now is Thailand.
You liked it?
I liked it very much. I felt like there was a sort of sense of joyfulness and just love of life that I experienced there, and also the food was delicious.
Nice. And did you keep on eating Thai food?
Yes, I like to eat Thai food once every 2 weeks at least.
Really?
Yeah.
What's good about it? Is it because it's spicy?
I do like the spiciness. I also like the unique flavors, lemongrass.
Yeah?
Yeah, delicious.
Okay, I personally never really got a liking to it. Maybe because I was never exposed to it too long. I was mostly Mediterranean food from Tunisia and France, but Thai food I never acquired. What do you call it? The taste for it.
Well, Mediterranean food is delicious as well.
Okay.
I'll have to take you to a Thai restaurant and we'll enjoy it.
Okay, so if that's what you like, thank you for the invitation. So, Josh, I know you like a lot of things. You told me politics just before I introduced you to the room here. And you like also philosophy. That's the name of the degree you have?
Yeah, I studied religious studies and philosophy and Jewish studies and education.
Okay. And Jewish has nothing to do with philosophy, right?
Well, I would say that part of my own project has been to bring these two practices together.
Oh, okay.
To explore how they're related.
Okay. Well, how can a culture be blended with philosophy? Is there a special philosophy of Jewishness?
That's a great question. So how can a culture be blended with philosophy? I would say that Jewish culture is all about celebrating life and, it's sort of a philosophy in practice.
How can you say it's about celebrating life? They had so many tragedies, so they went through a lot of death.
That's absolutely right. I think, at least my understanding of Judaism is it's about resilience.
Oh, okay.
Kind of how do you engage with the challenges, and how do you mark them and be honest with them and with ourselves, but then also to find the joy within. And I would just share, there's a theologian. His name was Joseph Soloveitchik, and he says there's a particular holiday called Sukkot, the festival of the booths.
And is that a joyous holiday?
Yes, they say it's the Hebrew. It's Vesamachta bechagecha, and you should be joyous in your holiday. And he says, how can we be joyous? How can we be told? How can we be commanded
After
to
all
be joyous?
We went through.
And also, just in general, it's weird. You must be happy. And what does that mean? And he says it's about a kind of sense of contentment, a kind of sense of finding peace with it all. And that's actually the time of year, the holiday in which you read Ecclesiastes, which, as you may know, it's like this very serious existential work in the Bible. So I think the main point is, finding joy, finding joyfulness, finding calmness, even with the challenges and the tragedies and but being authentic to ourselves.
I thought that Purim was the joyous holiday.
Absolutely, Purim is also joyous, and it's sort of...
It's mostly for children.
Good question. Yeah, it is for children, at least the way that we do it in this country. But both of these holidays are very much centering the joy and the positivity.
But Sukkot is when you go under the tent.
Yes, exactly.
But mostly kids.
Yeah, so one of the things I guess I would say to you in relation to what you just said is that, I'm interested in a tradition, Jewish practice that can speak both to kids and to adults.
Oh, okay.
So
at what point you're an adult?
Well, some say 13 years old, but that's pretty young for American culture today. So, yeah, I think that there's a broader question in American society and probably broader, when does adulthood begin? Does it start at the age of 18 or 21 or 30 or, there's all kinds of things.
It's all in there. It's all up there.
Yeah.
Because you become mature at your own pace.
Absolutely. You become mature at your own pace, and I think
you're still pretty young at heart yourself.
I try to be young at heart. I think in some ways have an old soul, but I want to be always open and always growing, and I never want to give that up. I think that's important.
Yeah, to not really take yourself seriously. Is that what you mean? Because children are, instantaneous. How do you call it? They don't think twice before they speak, or they don't calculate. They just themselves. And adults is more of a, let me see how I can be or not be.
Good question. Yeah. I think it's important to be aware of your surroundings.
The word is spontaneous.
Yeah, spontaneity is very important to me.
Okay.
Honoring the feelings, the intuitions we have, and the values that we have, and living our lives through them, with them, but also being aware of our surroundings, being aware of who's around us. One of the things I tell students when they make a mistake, maybe they tell me I was trying to do a joke with a friend at school, and they hurt someone.
Oh, they take it seriously.
Well, it's like, who are you to say it's a joke? It's for the other person to say it's a joke.
Oh, okay.
So their sense of spontaneity is someone else's pain, And so I try to help them be aware of their choices and how important they can be.
Wow. I never thought about it that way. It's true that sometimes I say things, and then when you say things, you don't think about the other person, how they're going to perceive it.
I think it's very important in our world. I mean, we could talk about so many things in this time we have together, but one of the things that I guess our conversation so far is making me think of is what it means to be white in America.
White?
Yeah, which is to
say... How about
say...
Mediterranean? I'm from the Mediterranean Sea.
Wonderful. I guess for myself, I am experienced as white by others.
Because you're born in America?
I'm born in America, and I have some kinds of privileges on the basis of my skin and how I walk around this society. And so I may think of myself as, I'm Jewish, and my family's Ashkenazi, and we're from here, and we're from there. But I have to be aware of how others may experience me, And that should inform, I don't say it should, but I want that to inform my choices, my awareness when I'm interacting with others.
I never thought about it. I never, when I meet someone, think about what would I be perceived at. But when I just came to America and I went to Seattle, and people would say, where are you from? And I would say, I am from Tunisia. And they would say, Indonesia? And I would say, no, Tunisia. And they say, where that is? And I say, in Africa. So they would respond, so you're black? Because they think Africa, everybody's black. And which is a misconception of some people. They think that because you're born in Africa, you're automatically black. And I said, no, that's not true. North Africa is Mediterranean.
That's right.
And people who never studied geography, they don't understand that. They tie Africa with everybody being black.
There's an opportunity for more education, more learning about the world and the diversity of the world. I think, as an educator, part of my interest is to help people learn.
Understand that it's not black and white. It's different things in the continent.
It's a complicated world. And I'll tell you something else. When I was studying Arabic in Jordan, people would ask me where I'm from. And I'd say the United States. And then they'd say, you're not from the United States.
Really?
You're not from the United States.
Why would I say that? Because you look?
Exactly. So they'd say, no, where are you from? The United States. And then they'd say, no, really. And then I'd be like, oh, my grandparents? They're from Germany. And they'd say, no, your grandparents are not from Germany. Interesting moment. How are you going to respond? Folks are trying to understand your background. Are we going to welcome you? They also are curious. Maybe you look a little different, or maybe you look similar. They want to place you. They want to know how you fit into their world.
And then if you tell them I'm mixed because I have green eyes, then they say, oh, from which two countries are you from?
Right.
So you probably mixed a little bit.
But so what I would share with you also is, like, as a person who's Jewish, it was very interesting for me in those moments. Do I want to share about that with folks I was meeting? Because in Jordan today, it's not, I don't know, it wasn't the easiest place to talk about, being Jewish. And so there was a sense of wanting to hide.
Because they're mostly Christian there.
Well, in Jordan, actually, it's mostly Muslim.
No.
There are some Christians.
There are some Christians.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think when you say Muslim, it's more to the other countries, Palestine.
Definitely. Also, Palestinian territories, a lot of Muslims.
Yeah. And then when you move toward Jordan, is more Christians.
Also, Lebanon. Lebanon is a lot of Christians.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lebanon, just north of Israel. Anyway, so I've had the great privilege of learning and studying in these different places, and it's been a great
how
thing.
You are perceived in different countries.
Yeah, how you're perceived in different countries, how folks in these different societies...
They try to place you.
There's a sense that I've experienced where people are more direct. Wait, they're not...
Where are you from?
Yeah, exactly. Which, frankly, I like something about that sense of wanting to understand and just trying to, get to know someone rather than being very, shy or standoffish.
You could pass for someone from New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, that was the interesting thing. When I was in the Arab world, a lot of folks said, oh, are you Palestinian or are you Syrian? And then other people said, are you in the Mossad? Are you Israeli? Right? So it was a very interesting thing. When people would ask me the last question, I'd be like, I'm going to leave this space now because I don't know you. And I don't know, if this is a safe space for me to be in.
All right. And now that you are in the professional world, do you introduce yourself as from America or from the other countries?
Oh, well, so I was born in Los Angeles, in Santa Monica.
Right. Yeah.
So I usually say I'm American, but I actually recently received German citizenship.
So you have dual citizenship.
That's right, American and German.
So what do you tell people when you teach them? You say I'm both?
I usually, I don't talk about it, but that's not because I want to hide something. It's just I don't discuss it. It doesn't come up. People aren't like, are you American? They just assume, I think. They assume that I am, or they don't care.
They assume because you don't have an accent.
Probably.
Okay, so you speak to your students who are they adults or a younger crowd?
So right now I work at a high school. I'm the director of Jewish Life and Learning.
So you don't teach directly?
Well, I do teach directly,
okay.
But I've worked with adults as well, and so I enjoy doing both.
Oh, okay. Are the teenager a little bit more fun and active, and you can teach them more than adults, where they can scrutinize you more? So are you more careful when you teach adults?
That's a great question.
Because teenager, you can tell them anything.
I think it depends on the person, because some teenagers are going to be very
intelligent.
Yeah, definitely, and they want to know if they can trust you, and if you're someone they should look up to, and they have a lot of questions about the system and the adults in the room who've made choices, some of which have been bad. So they want to know if they should look to you and regard you as an authority.
Or as someone who can teach them anything.
Or not, and they just have to get through it and survive and make it through high school. But I try to take seriously my work with kids and also with adults.
That's awesome that you like your job. So are you still the director?
Yes, I am.
Oh, so you're still active.
I am. I'm very active. I stay busy. I have all kinds of big ideas and hopes and dreams, and I'd love to share a little more about them.
Okay, so as a director, you outline the curriculum or you don't?
Much of my work in the school is the life of the school beyond academic courses.
Oh.
What does that mean? I'll just share. It means the experiential education. Okay, what does that mean? It's the homeroom advisory, kind of the small groups that kids are in with an adult who kind of can see them, help them feel that sense of belonging, a kind of micro community. And then also what we call seminar, what we call Beit Midrash. It's an assembly where kids are learning about Jewish holidays, American holidays, the life of society, and learning important kinds of knowledge for them as they begin to make their way in the world, whether it's sex education or about drugs and alcohol or about...
So it's like a regular education.
Yeah, but so, I'm responsible administratively for a lot of the stuff at the school that's not, academic courses. And also we do something called, class trips, experiential education intensives. Okay. So we take folks to Argentina, Israel, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, New York, all over.
Yeah, the thing is, when you say you take them to these places, do you go from one hotel to the other, or they explore a little bit more than the hotel?
Yes, they explore more than the hotel. Definitely want them to really get a feel for these different places. There's a real possibility of giving folks new insight in their lives, in their growth, when you take them out of their comfort zone and put them in a new place, especially kids who are at such a important time in their lives.
Oh, okay, because the previous guest, Randall Wilson, he takes people to France. So also because he organized these trips, or he goes to France. But anyway, it's to open the minds of students, basically. But he was a teacher himself.
Wonderful. I was in college in an a cappella group singing, and I organized the trip to France. It was very special.
Okay, so you set them up wherever, the hotel or the hosting.
Exactly, and we had homestays with French families, and we really got to know French culture and society.
You went with them, or you just organized it?
I went with them. I was in the group.
You were in the group?
Yes, I was singing.
Oh, did you have to pay your own trip, or the company paid?
Well, the a cappella group paid, but that's because we were able to ask organizations to support our trip.
Oh, okay.
We were very fortunate that they were able to.
They supported the student and the teacher. Okay.
well, it was a little while ago. I was in college, so.
Okay, so you were still a student.
That's right.
Okay, sounds like fun.
But I will say that I have the great fortune of growing up.
Going there.
Yeah, going to France and so many other places with my family. My parents are Francophiles.
Yeah.
And when we were kids, really very lucky and fortunate. We would go sometimes to different places, including France.
Yeah.
And spent time there in the winter holiday, or at other times of the year. So very special.
They like the French culture.
My sister's name is Simone.
Oh, that's my cousin's name.
Maybe they know each other.
That sounds funny. So but Josh is a Jewish name, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's I sometimes think that that we live our names. My sister is very into art. She's a curator, and I'm kind of into religion. I certainly study religion and have been exploring Jewish, ideas, Jewish studies, philosophy. So
most of the people who sign up are from Jewish background. I assume.
Sign up for
your class, the Jewish studies.
So at the school where I work at present, a lot of folks. A lot of Jewish folks and a lot of folks are not.
Okay.
Yeah, coming from all different backgrounds, just curious, wanting to learn more about new things.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and the course is what, 2 hours a day?
So the school where I work is it's a
It's a school or it's a
school.
class?
So it's a school, right? So it's high school, grades 9 through 12.
Oh, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then I also do other things, kind of
on the side.
Adult education. Yeah.
Okay. So so you pretty much have to do the full curriculum, like from A to Z then.
With regard to the stuff at the school that's not academic courses, I'm responsible administratively for different parts of the program.
Okay. And you try not to teach them only some things that you have interest in.
I try to be aware of their interests and needs and what they're excited about, and to help them, to prepare them for the future, for college and beyond, with what I consider to be the most essential education. And I work with colleagues who give a ton and bring a lot of ideas to the table, and they, are organizing different parts of the program as well. So it's really
They
lovely.
advise you. They
Absolutely.
tell you. Hey,
and we work together. It's a team effort.
And no, but you cannot, in that kind of academic curricular, include, like you said, politics. That's impossible, right?
Oh, good question.
Because that's more personal.
Well, the whole question of how institutions, and in my case, educational institutions, relate to politics, I think it's very relevant. Where we want to stand true to our values as an organization, and we also want to be, want to have a pluralistic space where we're convening people with different viewpoints.
Okay.
And so we want to do both.
Okay, but you don't say in your program these people are good or these people are bad. You just show facts.
Yeah, I mean, in general, that's right. I mean, we show facts. We also want to help our students to navigate the different viewpoints that exist out there. So this is just an example of the kind of programming that I and my colleagues put together.
But at that age, they're not aware of any of that. They're not aware of the right and the left, are they?
I would say they are.
A little bit?
Yeah, they are.
They cannot vote yet.
That's right. They're beginning to explore these ideas for themselves.
Yeah. But how could they be influenced toward one or the other?
Well, I would also share that I remember learning about, I think it was the 1960s, when an amendment was passed that allowed the voting age in the United States to be reduced from 21 to 18.
When was that?
I want to say the late 60s.
Okay.
In this country.
And then they got more aware earlier?
I'm not sure the effects, but I would just share that there was a viewpoint that said, can't vote till you're 21, and then they changed it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying they should change it to be younger.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that it's interesting that happened. And, we send our children, maybe we could call them adults when they're 18, we send them to war. So we take seriously that they can offer a lot. When does that begin? When does childhood become adulthood? We were already discussing that in our conversation. But, many of these students are very, bright and engaged and caring, and they want to do they're exploring who they are and what they're all about. So I'm not sure if we should give them the right to vote, at that age.
Do you know they want to change it to 16?
I think that's right. Some folks do.
And do you think it should go through, or it's too early?
I'm not sure what I think, but I guess if I had to say something right now, I would say I think it should.
It should be.
Yeah, we let them drive.
That's true.
That's operating machinery that's dangerous, right?
So let me change seat here. You're the teacher, I'm the student. But let me ask you, if you're my student, what's the difference between a Democrat and a Republican?
Okay, interesting. So I'm a student.
Yeah, you're a student, then answer me.
Oh.
Because we switching chairs now.
You got it. So I'm the student, and I'm exploring with you, my teacher, what is a Democrat and what is a Republican. And so I guess, teacher, I want to know what you're asking for specifically. Like,
what are the main focus of the Democrat and how do they function, and what are the main focus of the Republican and how do they function? Oh, if you don't want to go Republican, Democrat, the left and the right.
Wonderful. No, it's such a life-giving and interesting question. Now, I guess I'm not sure all my students would say that. That's probably my way of talking. But to get in the mindset of a student, if I had to go with something, I think I would talk about the Republican being more interested in the individualism, freedom, the individual himself, themselves, herself, rather than the community, the social space. I think the Democrats are more attentive to, all the community as such, whereas Republicans, at least traditionally, and the former president is a whole different ballgame, but traditionally I think Republicans have been interested in
meritocracy.
But the individual.
You have to merit something.
Yes, that's right, and less interested in the structures.
Do you believe in meritocracy? You think some people deserve more than others because they merit more?
You ask good questions.
Yeah, meritocracy is called.
Yes. Do I believe in it? I believe it's a powerful idea.
Yeah.
And I believe there's some truth to it.
Okay, so if you work hard, then you should get more.
I think that if you work hard, then there's a higher likelihood you'll be quote-unquote successful. I don't think it's assured, but I think it's, that investment in oneself is a wonderful idea. And I think that, absolutely where we're born, the position we're born into matters for our chances in life, for the choices we get to make. And so these issues are very important to me, though. I want ultimately to expand access in some way for folks to have better lives, whether through education or otherwise.
So from the point of view now of a Democrat, does, let's say, someone who works in a factory or someone who's a janitor, does he deserve less than someone like you who merit more because you had done more study? Do you merit more?
Well, first of all, we don't know a janitor or a factory worker, like, we don't know their background per se.
They have minimum wage, basically.
Right.
Okay. But do they merit as much as a billionaire?
Right. So I would say that we do want to reward entrepreneurship. We do want to reward, kind of taking risks. And I think some positions reflect that risk. And with risk, you can also fail, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, you can fail, and many people do.
Yeah.
So some of these people who are entrepreneurs
finally make it
took
a risk.
They took major risks. I'm not saying that we should turn a blind eye to the ways that they're not paying their workers enough, if that is indeed the case.
Okay.
But I do think we ought to consider those risks that they're taking.
Okay. But they're not worth a million times more than the worker out there.
I agree with that. I think that in Europe there's this sense of, I think that here in the United States we have much more, there's much more distance between the rich and the poor. I don't like to see this inequality in this country. And so in I think France and in other contexts,
they try to level it.
It's more leveled. I think that that's really nice. I like that idea because I think it is a way to engage with the dignity of every human being.
Like in France, when I went back, the most a doctor could charge was 20 euros. Now it's 30. But here it's $300 for one visit. Over there it's 10 times less. So the fact that here we value studies, we pay these people 10 times more than in Europe.
It's also interesting though, just to have fun together here. I'm not sure how much we value studies in this country. Yes, we probably pay people more who pay people more, as a college degree, and we pay folks more who go to medical school, become doctors or lawyers and have professional degrees. But also, you think of the rise of tech and, the sort of major shifts in our society over the last decade.
Where they don't have degrees.
Yeah. Bill Gates dropped out and this one dropped out, and they're the people that my students look up to. I mean, not only, but, those are the people that I see my students get really excited about. Being in Silicon Valley, I'm raised in like Los Angeles, where Hollywood stars are the big deal, big shots.
Yeah, now it's no longer that.
Well, in Silicon Valley, you have the Silicon Valley disruptors who are the really exciting to people.
Yeah.
And so many of them dropped out of college, and now
and wanted to start a company.
Exactly.
And some of them made it,
Yes, some of them made it and did some really remarkable things for good and for ill.
Yeah. So anyway, it's good no matter what. It's good to have a good education. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely good to have a good education. But I would also say to have a powerful, loving context, family life, community growing up. That is an ultimate privilege. I think there's both this sort of practical question of the amount of money your parents make and how much you can afford to do with that money, but also a far less measurable thing is how much love is in your home. How much your parents are caring, are spending time with you.
Yeah, I know, but to have love in the home, they need to have enough money to pay the bills, right?
It's a good question. I think you can have love and people working very, very hard, 2 jobs. I don't want to say that I've been in that context. I have not.
Yeah.
But I know many people, I think are absolutely practicing that and doing their best, and trying to find the support they need to help their kids.
Yeah, they say in America the major cause of divorce is money. So if one person loses their job, all of a sudden there's tension in the household.
Absolutely. I don't want to underestimate the importance of money. Yeah, very important. I know, here we sit in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and you can just think of gentrification and how so many folks are not living here because they couldn't afford to stay.
Yeah, 60% of San Francisco is single.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they have family, they move to Burlingame or to Oakland or to a place where it's more affordable.
That's right.
I don't know about Palo Alto. I know Palo Alto is pretty upper.
That's right.
Yeah. So you did most of your studies in America?
Yes.
So you influenced by American ideology and stuff, right?
Well, I'll ask you. What do you think?
I think if I don't know you as much as you think I do, but if your teachers were raised in America, they might not teach you the same thing as if you were in another country.
I agree with that, absolutely. And I would say I'm influenced by American society and culture. I also went to Jewish schools growing up, and that also impacted me greatly because I felt that I certainly felt curious about Judaism and religion.
So when you went to Israel, right? You went there?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So did you experience more social life?
More than...
Here, more than in LA.
I guess, what do you mean by social life?
Are people sharing more than here?
I think if I understand you correctly, yes. There's more of a social life experience there. People are out and about, and there's more of a shared society feeling. If you are in Tel Aviv or you're on a kibbutz.
Yeah, there's more togetherness.
I think so. I mean, listen, it's a society over there that, they're existentially threatened by their neighbors and all kinds of challenges. And, there's a sense of we're in it together. Whereas here, with our polarization...
we have been here. As for them, they're immigrants, most of them.
Yes. But, it's so hard to generalize because there's so many things.
A lot of them are immigrants.
A lot of folks are immigrants, or the children or grandchildren of immigrants. There are also, of course, many Arab folks living in Israel, coming from that vantage point. So much interesting stuff happening over there.
Are they friendly, like you say, to Arab folks, or they're not?
Again, it depends who we're talking about.
No, I mean, you said there's a lot of people from the surrounding countries.
Yes.
Are the Jewish people there friendly to them?
Are you referring to people in Israel?
Yeah,
are people in Israel friendly to
the people who come from Arab countries?
So I would say that historically, in the experience of folks coming from Arab countries to Israel, there were a lot of challenges.
They invite them to their table or no?
Generally, I think that there was not that sense of care when folks were coming from Iraq or from Morocco or from Lebanon or from Tunisia.
So everybody had their own little set of connection in their neighborhood, something.
Yeah, I think there was a sense of us and them, if you look at the history of Israeli politics. And one of the things they talk about when we look at like Israeli society and politics is how there was a kind of rebellion of Mizrahim, they call it, like Middle Eastern Jewish folks coming in the 70s and 80s to say, we're not going to vote for Avodah, we're not going to vote for the Labour Party, which had been by far the most important party. We're going to rebel and vote for another party. And so that's what brought in the first right-wing leader of Israel, Menachem Begin. The reason I mention that is because I think you can trace different things happening both in Israel, in the United States, and elsewhere, in relation to these ethnic, feelings and concerns and histories, feeling not welcomed and like wanting to reflect that in one's political actions.
Yeah, they're more religiously oriented. So if you meet someone and he tells you, I'm from an Arab country, are you suspicious of him, or you keep your distance, or you welcome him as a friend?
I hope I welcome someone as a friend I hope that I have a sense of distance from anyone who looks suspicious, whatever background they have.
Right.
But I hope we can live in a world where we don't suspect one another. That's my idealistic dream. Yeah. But in other words, there are people out there who are dangerous. The other day on Thursday, there was a bomb threat at the school where I work, and we had to evacuate.
Oh, no.
You just never know.
Where it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it could be in America.
Happen. It could be in America. It could be literally where we work, where we spend our days between 9 to 6 or whatnot. So why am I mentioning that? Because you just don't know who's trustworthy and who's not.
I know, because
right?
Some comedians make fun of people judging by your name. So if your name is Bin Laden or Hassan, then you would automatically be on your guard, kind of thing, because your connection is with the bad person, right? But if your name is John or John P, whatever, John or whatever, Michael, then it's okay. He's one of us, right?
That's an interesting comment. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think, I'm equal opportunity, which is to say, I'll see a person and judge them
after a few minutes.
Based on my sense of them. There is an idea from the ethics of our forefathers on Pirkei Avot, judge someone favorably when you meet them.
No matter what.
No matter what. And I think there's also an idea that we want to be honest with ourselves and with others around us about if we have someone who we maybe shouldn't trust so much.
Yeah, but in America, nobody asks you for your religion. In Israel, they do.
Have you experienced that? Or?
No, they do, because first of all, of your looks. They know if you are from their religion or not. They know. It's like an instinct. But in America, everybody's so blended that it's hard to tell what they are. Okay?
It's definitely a different society, different culture, where different kinds of, ways of being.
In America, religion's not important.
I would say it is.
No,
just to give you a hard time.
No. I mean, in America, they judge you more by the political party you belong than by your religion.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah, there's been such polarization here, and they've studied how politics, in the old times, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if someone was on the other side of the political aisle, it was like, okay, they're still nice, they're still, we respect them. We don't like what they believe, but we can have a conversation. Right. Now, they're threatening everything we believe.
Oh, okay.
So there's a sense that now it's existential.
Okay.
They're evil, and they want to take everything away. And frankly, I think there's some truth to this situation where, you think about January 6th, you think about, that didn't happen 30 years ago. It happened, 2 years ago at this point. So it is real, and there is this increased tension. But I also want to have a situation, I have a culture where we're able to see the other for who she is, and to listen to them and to be in dialogue, because I think we're in a lot of trouble if we can't be in that situation.
So isn't it safer to just say, I don't want to talk about, when you meet someone, to never mention your religion? Is it safer?
That's a fascinating question.
I mean, if someone asks you, because obviously they're going to ask you because you are in a school where you teach that kind of religion. But let's say you didn't work for that kind of school. Would you reveal your religion?
In the United States, I would.
You would?
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, again, I guess, well, it depends where I am. In San Francisco, in the Bay Area, in Los Angeles, I'm not afraid to be a Jewish American person.
Right.
I have many friends who are actually afraid to be Jewish in this country.
And they hide it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't feel that way, and maybe it's because I haven't experienced a lot of anti-Semitism myself. And I have wonderful friends of all different backgrounds. So many of my friends have friends of different backgrounds, but, I don't want to be someone who's hiding my identity. It's like when we think about, LGBTQ folks, we want for people to be able to be out for who they are. At least I hope we all want that, And so, to express themselves, to be who they are. And so I want to live in a society where folks can do the same.
Accepted.
Where people can be Jewish or, Christian, Muslim, nothing, atheist. It's all great. It's all beautiful human diversity and expression. So
people who change their name just so that they don't really reveal their religion, is that safer? Let's say they come here and their name is Mohammed, and they say, I don't want to deal with the religious thing. I'm going to change my name to Peter.
Sure.
Or to a name that's totally American, and this way I don't have to deal with it.
Well, I guess I would say it depends on the situation. You
don't want to be misjudged or put in a box.
Definitely. So maybe in some contexts, Peter could find acceptance in Hollywood or in this other context for having that name. Okay. But maybe someone else would find out his name was Muhammad originally and would then feel
revealing
like
it?
And then he would feel he was lied to. So you just never know. I mean, I want to live in a world where people don't feel pressured to change their names, where people could have the names they have, and if that is comfortable for who they are, that they could keep their names. But
because when I left Tunisia, businesses without a Muslim name were not allowed to have a business, period. So they had, if they were, let's say, French or Jewish, they had to change their name to a Muslim name to be allowed to do business, to be head of a company.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so I know it's not in America, but in some country it is.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in Jordan, I did not feel comfortable telling people I was Jewish.
Yeah, because you don't want to be put in a box either, right?
Right, I don't want to be put in a box, but also it wasn't necessarily safe to do so, where, if I told people, then maybe, it would be dangerous.
Yeah, and nobody asked you anyway, right?
People would ask me questions like, where are you from?
Okay. But
and what were they really asking? They were asking, where do you fit in?
Who
are you? Mm. What's your view? What's your politics? What's your religion?
Okay.
People want to know. They want to know who you are, which is great. But I have to figure out, we all have to figure out who we can trust. When a woman is walking home at night with a man she's just met, or something like this,
it could
is
be
she
dangerous.
Gonna trust? Is she going to trust this person? As soon as she meets them, maybe not. There are all kinds of situations we encounter in our lives. We want to be intentional about those choices.
Okay, so because I know we don't want to talk about religion too much.
We can do so.
Oh, no, because if you're a teacher in Jewish studies, you said?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're a teacher in those, you want to teach those values to your people. And you might not necessarily share, these values with people who are from Iran, for example. Extremists or things like that. So would you tell your student it's bad to tell a woman not to wear a veil? You would not give your opinion on that, would you?
Well, we want to be intentional about, how would I say it? Like, we want to celebrate diversity, celebrate different viewpoints, and we want to have values that are pushing forward, like, I would say, the world we believe in. And I think that navigating that set of challenges, that tension, is part of the work of education.
Yeah, because last year there was a lot of women who died for that cause.
In
they
Iran.
wanted to take the veil.
Yes.
And they died for just that cause, for the freedom to take it out.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I would say to my students that I believe that those women should have the right to take their veil off and be who they are and to dress how they like. You know, I personally believe that. I'm not necessarily telling all of them to believe that. I think many of them do, to the extent that they know what's happening in Iran. But I would feel comfortable saying that even in the school.
okay, and let's say in the classroom you have someone who believes that it's God's will for a woman to cover her face. How would you challenge such ingrained beliefs?
I would also say I don't generally have that experience because I work in a context that, in Palo Alto, California, and
Everybody's free.
It's just we're not in Tehran or in a settlement in the West Bank and Judea and Samaria and whatnot.
So you stay away out of it.
Well, no, it's just that I generally don't encounter that situation. But if I encountered it, I'm not going to tell someone you have to change your view. I'm going to ask questions. I think questions are very powerful.
Okay, so let's say one of your students walks in with his wife all covered in her face. Would you tell him, let her take it off? No.
Would I force...
Would you tell the man it's not right for you to tell your wife to wear a veil?
I think that if someone came to where I work and with
and
a
his
partner,
wife is covered, yeah?
I wouldn't force him or the wife to take off what they were wearing.
No, but would you tell the man that's unfair to the woman?
I would certainly ask, I would ask him about the choice that he's making or she's making or they're making.
Okay, and see why.
And see why, to understand. But
they're going to say, it's God's will. That's what they're going to say.
Well, it also depends. You never know. You meet people have all kinds of views and all kinds of pasts too. So sometimes folks who look really traditional, maybe they were born in Berkeley, California, and they used to be hippies. You just never know where people are coming from and the choices they make. So I always try to understand, people's choices.
Yeah, I feel that men are more free to wear what they want than women. I mean, obviously, you dress like an American. And I do too. I'm not wearing a dress, which is unheard of, I think, in some countries. But we are Americans. We are free. And it will be hard to convince anyone that that's not the way to be.
I would say I agree that there is a sense, there's a double standard that we kind of think about, hey, how is that woman dressed? How is that girl dressed? We ask those kinds of questions and we pay more attention to that than we do to how men are dressed. And I think that's a double standard. It's a problem.
Yeah. I don't teach religious studies, but in the Jewish studies, does the man have a special place than the woman?
That's such an interesting question.
I mean, does he have the directing, like you're a director, right? But in the home, is he the director?
No.
He's not.
He's not. I mean, in traditional Jewish thought, there's an idea that men are obligated by religious obligations, certain kinds of religious obligations, and women are not obligated by those obligations. So men have more responsibility, more accountability for certain kinds of practices than women, but women also have obligations. But I also would share, and I think it's important to say that, Jewish life and Jewish religious life, there's so much diversity of expression, of understanding of that. So I grew up in, and I would say identify as a liberal Jewish person.
Very liberal.
And so I grew up with, in a Jewish school with women rabbis and gay rabbis.
Yeah.
And for me,
that's
it's
very
normal.
liberal. That's very liberal.
It's very liberal. I mean, it's very unique to grow up in a Jewish environment that is also, having that kind of leadership and that kind of authority.
But when you went to Israel, the men were in one room and the women in the other room?
It depended, in certain environments I'd go to, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a barrier separating the two, by gender. And in other contexts, they were all together dancing, right? So it depended, right?
It depends what's the context.
Absolutely.
Okay. But you didn't try, as an American, to influence the way they do things?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I you could say I did by asking questions, always trying to understand. I always try to understand how people behave, kind of like an anthropologist, exploring choices people make.
So when you ask the men why you keep the women in the back, what did they say?
A lot of them would say something along the lines of what you were talking about before, which is they said, this is
the way it is. This is
our tradition.
Yeah.
What do you want from us? Our hands are tied by
other
obligations,
okay,
by the tradition itself. But I also would share, I actually had the chance when I was living in Brooklyn in New York, to be in a situation where two folks I knew, they said it was what's called Simchat Torah. Mm-hmm. It's a special evening which is all about the joy of the Torah.
Okay.
You're celebrating the Torah.
Okay.
And these two folks I knew, they said, we're going to take the Torah from the men's side because it was going to only be, the Torah was only going to be on the men's side, and men were going to be the only ones who were going to be able to dance with it. We're going to take it and bring it to the women's side.
Oh.
So they weren't the members of the community, and they said, we're going to be activists.
We're going to be activists.
We're going to be activists. And so they did this. And they took it, and they were dancing with it, and then many people got very angry.
Oh.
Right? And there was this whole,
turmoil,
powerful, interesting moment.
Turmoil, yeah.
And the conversation was continuing even months after.
That somebody did it.
That somebody did it, and different people in the community wanted to continue it and liked it, and other people didn't.
Oh my God!
Right, so it's very interesting. I think from where I'm coming from, my value is to try to respect communities I'm not a part of. Mm-hmm. I don't want to tell you as a French person you should do it this way. Oh. I want to say you're a French person. That's wonderful. If you want to make these choices, great. I don't live there. I'm not a citizen there, so it's not my place to tell you how to live your life, how to run your country. Mm-hmm. I want to. If I have a problem with it,
Then I will voice.
I will share with you, or I'd like to share with you. I mean, in scholarship and academia, I think the main case, and this is very weird and sensitive to share, but the it's like genital mutilation, female genital mutilation. You're
against it, okay?
Yeah, of course, I'm against it. It's horrible, But
you cannot change things.
There's a value, I think, to celebrating difference and pluralism, mm-hmm. and then on the other hand, there are limits to that, mm-hmm. where we say we're not going to allow that. We're going to maybe take action against it.
Talking about mutilation, are you for circumcision? In England it's considered child abuse. You know that.
You mean for men or for what?
No, for boys to do circumcision is considered child abuse.
I think I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Oh, you're fine with it because you accepted it.
Well, I didn't have a choice at the time.
No, but when you became an adult, you accepted the idea that it's even though it's child abuse, you accepted the practice.
I don't think it's child abuse.
No?
So I disagree with that
characterization. The baby cries when you do it.
Yeah. Babies cry when parents do a lot of things.
So
even if you love them.
Oh, okay. So you accepted it as something that's okay to do.
Definitely.
Really? And why? Why is it okay to do it?
Well, listen, I don't want to pretend like I'm some kind of expert on circumcision or that I'm specially...
No, but you accepted it because you were born in it, or you accepted it because you think it's okay?
I think both.
Okay.
I don't see...
Okay, if you had to vote on it, because they had a vote in England and they voted against it. But if you
I don't know about that also.
Yeah, but if you had to vote on it, what would you vote?
Well, what would the vote be for or against?
Yeah, against circumcision or okay with
I definitely think circumcision of boys
is okay.
Is okay. I don't want to say you have to do it for your child, but I definitely think it's fine.
Okay.
It's a practice that I think, according to my learning, that
for 5,000 years ago.
Thousands of years, and that it was helpful in preventing diseases.
In the old days, not now.
Preventing different kinds of STDs or
in the old days,
infections
that's the point. 5,700 years ago, it did prevent disease because they liked hygiene and daily shower. But nowadays, there's no reason for it.
What do you think? I'm curious.
I think since we have better hygiene, it's not necessary. But since we have soap and water every day, and there's no reason to avoid those diseases of 5,782 years ago.
So I guess my question to you, though, would be, you may think it's not necessary, but would you say it should be prohibited, illegal? It should be a crime? Like right now, we're saying about abortion in this country, in certain states, it's a crime.
It is.
So right? So would you say that circumcision should be a crime for parents or for doctors or for, mohels, like people who are ritual circumcisers? I mean, like, is that where you're coming from? Or you say, I wouldn't do that if I had a boy child. It's a very different perspective. One of them is
I
more
would say I wouldn't do that that I influence the other person not to do it, but not to criminalize it, like send someone to jail for doing it. No, because it's ingrained and that it's normal to do it.
I guess my vantage point as well is that it's happened in Jewish culture and I think in Muslim culture in different places for many generations. And
you cannot change the...
You can, but you don't necessarily need to.
Okay.
I don't think it's different if... I don't see this as troubling like female genital mutilation.
That's even worse.
Oh, that's far, far, far worse.
Mutilation.
On many levels, and it's also far more dangerous. Again, I don't want to tell you I'm some kind of expert on this.
Oh no! Don't tell me I don't like these topics.
Really?
But, no, I mean for women, I stay away from the topic.
Pleasure is very important.
No, I know, but the topic is so that these culture didn't realize it's bad. It just I don't understand unless it's passed from father and son, just like circumcision, father and son. But there are other things that we do from 5,783 years or 87 years ago that don't apply nowadays. Like some people say, oh, you have to not do this or not mix pork and this and that, when people can have a very clean lifestyle without abiding with the rules of when people didn't have refrigerators.
Well, do you want me to share my thoughts on your question?
What do you think?
I like your question. I think you're trying to understand how we can eat well and live in a good society.
We have refrigerators now.
Yeah, we have refrigerators. I guess the other question I would ask though is how can we learn from traditional food systems? So Jewish, Native American of different backgrounds, all over the world they have cultures. Cultures have developed food systems, and we can learn from them.
That's passed on and on and on.
That's right.
And do they apply now in modern days?
I think we can learn from them, and that's not to say.
Do you mix dairy with meat?
I sometimes do. I didn't used to. I chose to become kosher.
Okay.
And for a long time, I kept kosher. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up deciding not to do it for myself, but I absolutely respect if others do and want to. I don't see it as a sinister thing or a problematic thing. We want to learn from practices from the past. Mm-hmm. We don't want to just accept them, period, for what they are. We want to question them. We want to engage with them. But we don't want to throw them out either. We don't want to throw out our history or the past just because it's old.
So anyway, you are very liberal anyway because you came all the way from Palo to here on Sabbath day, which means you are liberal.
I am liberal.
So you're not like, oh my God, I'm not going to do anything.
I'm quite liberal. Yeah. I would also say I try to do, to mark Shabbat, the Sabbath.
Yeah, but you're not extremist.
Oh, you tell me. I don't think I'm extremist.
No, you're not extremist because you drove.
Yes.
Okay, but so you're not extremist.
But maybe I'm not extremist separate from the reason that I drove.
There's other things that other people don't do that you do also. I don't know what they are, but of the 680 commandments, I'm sure that a lot of them don't make sense to you because they're outdated and they're applied 6,000 years ago, but not today, right?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I explore, I like to turn over each of them and explore them and, you know, not throw out old things just because they're old, but also not necessarily accept them because they're from my tradition.
Right, you turned on your phone, obviously. So that is progressive.
I'm proud to be Jewish, and I'm like, I have all kinds of identities, and as a modern person, I'm exploring various identities that I am and have.
Yeah, that's good. I admire someone who is in a Jewish education school who use some sense of what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and how to be flexible with these rules.
I guess I would also say that one of the values I see in tradition, whether Judaism or any other, is a way to explore some of the values of the time, because sometimes there are values that everyone's talking about. This is the nicest, the best thing, but we should ask questions about them before we accept them. So I think that tradition also helps us
to understand things.
And to explore things for ourselves, because otherwise we're giving up, like we're just sort of believing in what everyone else is believing in around us, because it's the newest, shiniest idea. But sometimes the shiniest thing is not something we want to take for ourselves.
Right. So do you think people apply what's convenient to them and disregard what's not convenient?
I see that happening at times. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's convenient for you to do certain things, but other things you don't find that it's okay. I mean,
I'd like to think for myself, I don't make choices because it's convenient or not, but sometimes other people do.
Okay. So
right.
So what you do, for example, today is convenient for you.
Yeah, it was hard to find a time to do this recording and to do this.
Okay. But if it was avoidable, you would have said no. Okay.
Actually, it's a good question. I'm not especially traditional.
Yeah.
So I probably would have come on a Saturday anyways. But for me, also, this is a way to mark the Shabbat, to be in a beautiful conversation with someone who's thinking about the world we live in and, doing a lot of interesting, thought-provoking conversation.
That's a friendship.
Absolutely. And what a beautiful way to mark this time. And so there's an idea.
Stalking. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely. But there's an idea of shamor v'zachor. You should keep and you should remember the Shabbat and make it holy. So, basically, part of the idea is, bringing joy in and having joyfulness. And another sense of the idea is you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. I'm more interested in the former. I'm more interested in the joyfulness, which is to say, I am very excited about this time. And I love being together with community and being in friendship and having conversations. And that is a wonderful thing that I get to do on my weekend, which a weekend in itself, I think, also reflects the idea of Shabbat and Sunday for Christian folks. Originally, if you go hundreds of years ago, it was coming from the idea that it's a day of rest. What a great thing. We have this thing called the weekend where we can...
Sitting down.
And here we are. You're working, but...
No, I'm not working. To me, it's fun. It's my hobby, but you don't have to go maybe twice today to the scheduled prayer, whatever.
It's funny. Some people say, "Hey, what's your Jewish practice?"
Yeah.
And I say, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do go to synagogue a lot. I say, anytime I go, it's like I'm choosing to go in the moment. It's spontaneous.
Oh, because you feel like it that day.
I feel like that day. Oh, and my friend's going to be there. And they're coming from out of town. Oh, and I think this other person... so it's funny. It's not like, I have to do it. It says in the book, and I'm not thinking.
Okay.
But rather...
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
It's like I'm feeling inspired. And I once learned this interesting idea of, where people today, they're not black or white sometimes, especially in liberal religion. They're going to Starbucks and paying for the Starbucks coffee first, then they're going to synagogue.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So for them, the coffee will help them be present when they arrive.
Okay.
So it's like, if you're traditional, how could you do that? That makes no sense. You should be out of here.
Okay.
But for them, it's a way of precisely connecting.
Okay.
You know, so it's like a paradigm shift.
Everybody see it their own way.
Yeah, it's a paradigm shift. Is it also a shift in expectations? Like, here's what I studied in my academic, research was, what are the boundaries of religiosity? What does it mean to be religious? What does it mean to be secular? What does it mean to be spiritual? These are very hard questions to engage with. It's very hard to define. But I think that, what I was just describing is an attempt at broadening the very idea of religiosity and religious identity or practice. Because you might think it means you're doing it like this. But they're saying, hey, it could be like this. Those people are religious, but so are we. We get our coffee on Shabbat and we pay for it, then we go to synagogue. So it's just, you have diversity in this context, which is exciting to me.
As long as, some people say as long as you don't meet in coffee to talk business, or then there's a boundary there. You don't do business on Saturday or whatever.
And, I also love the idea of, having a time where we're not doing business.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. I like it.
It's good.
I'm glued to my phone. I'm glued to my, computer, like so many of us, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of putting our phones down for literally 25 hours, it's a nice idea that I appreciate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you don't get as many telemarketing calls.
I get them as messages.
Oh, you put them on do not call list.
Well, and sometimes I'm using my phone on the Shabbat too. It's not like, for me it's not black or white at all.
Okay, so if you want to, you would do it.
For me, I'll just share with you a lot of my own interest in these studies has to do with like philosophy and living a good life and exploring wisdom. In this time, in this world we live in. So for me, I don't say, if I'm going to learn wisdom, it should only be from Greece, like Greek wisdom or something, philosophy. It can also be from all these other places, from, the East, from the West, from the South, from the North. You have wisdom in so many places. And so I've especially explored, Jewish tradition in my own academic research and studies.
Would the religion of a politician influence your vote?
Oh, that's a fascinating question.
Would you join his party just because he was Jewish?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you take a distance from the politician, and
there are great people, great people in a lot of contexts, and bad people in a lot of contexts. So, I like the idea of being proud to be like who I am, and proud of members of our Jewish community who've like done great work. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was Jewish, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, amazing Jewish leader. I mean, she
was.
She wasn't. Her main thing wasn't to be traditionally relatable. Like that wasn't her main practice in life. She was a judge doing just wonderful work pursuing justice.
She was not a politician.
Right. That's right. But I remember when Joe Lieberman was the vice presidential candidate with Al Gore, it did mean something.
Really?
Yeah, it meant something. I was excited about it.
Oh, okay.
Bernie Sanders is Jewish. That's super cool.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think he goes around saying I go to synagogue. He doesn't.
He doesn't.
He's a secular guy.
Oh, okay.
But it's cool. I like it on the level of pride. Like, hey, look at what someone from...
I didn't know Bernie Sanders was... I learned something today.
Good. But I don't think he goes around talking about it. It's not...
That's probably why I don't know.
It's not the most important thing for him.
He's more like a Democrat, yeah.
He's more like a socialist. He's very passionate about those views. But you might say that a lot of those views come from Jewish values.
That's true.
You might argue that. I mean, you don't have to, but people have argued that. And it's very interesting because maybe he's secularizing these kinds of values and trying to bring it into the public square.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have any fondness for him.
You don't like him?
For other reasons.
I see.
Yeah, but he was way too direct, I think.
He's definitely on message.
Yeah, he was.
You may not love his message, but he's definitely on it.
I would say he's not polished.
Yes, I agree with that.
And some of the things he said publicly didn't have what I imagined of a president. I mean, I would say a president would be more restraining in his vocabulary. But anyway, maybe we didn't listen to the same things.
No.
You heard it too, probably.
No. I mean, I think we can be quite critical of of what he was doing, you know, and how he was doing it, and you know, he was very passionate and believed very strongly in what he was saying, and he made enemies for that, and you know, he's you know, he was willing to do that.
But he was not presidential. Let me put it this way.
Right. I understand what you mean. But I guess that one thing that comes up as we're talking about this question is, what does it mean to be presidential? And do we want people to have to play a kind of political game where you talk in a nice way in order to be that leader? And maybe we do, because guess what? It's important to speak diplomatically.
Yeah.
You know, but on the other hand, we want people to be true to their values. And I can say that I know that Bernie Sanders was opposed to the Iraq War.
Yeah.
A lot of people were for it.
Yeah.
So he had the foresight.
He had the foresight not to be that.
It's impressive.
I admire him for that.
I mean, so many people didn't have that foresight, and they're still leaders.
They regret it.
They regret it, but he saw through the bullshit.
Yeah, Biden was not like him. Yeah, he voted for it. Yeah.
So many people on the left, on the right. I mean,
all of them, because they were presented with false evidence.
And yet Bernie Sanders was able to see through that.
Okay.
You know. Anyway, we don't have to talk about him per se, but
no. What I'm saying, I get your point. Yeah. Maybe why you like the. Yeah, he had some positive points, but overall, I didn't feel he came across to me as a president. That's all.
Oh, for sure, I understand that, and I'm not necessarily the biggest fan either. I just like him. I like that he exists. I like that he's fighting for things he believes in.
Yeah.
So, you know, he does. I guess I would not use that word presidential with him.
Yeah.
But, you know, interesting model of politics in this country. I can say this. I'm very surprised that he made it as far as he did.
Me too. That's one thing I share with you in common. I mean, the way he dressed and the way he presented himself, and he made it to the top 2 or whatever.
It's shocking.
It is to me.
And he talks in this way that, like, it's just shocking.
I can't believe it.
And he's like almost 80 years. He's 80 years old now or so, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's just like remarkable that happened historically.
He got across to a lot of college students and to a lot of young people.
Even that is fascinating.
Yeah.
No one, I don't think anyone predicted that.
Yeah.
The appeal of this elder statesman, I don't know if the word would be statesman, the way he talks. He's yelling, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
The appeal of this person to all these college kids and young people. But I think he speaks to this anger and resentment that people feel about being left out in this country.
Okay.
And many people feel that.
Okay, yeah.
Am I wrong? You tell me.
Yeah. I think he touched a nerve on a few people that other politicians didn't.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
So, tell me a typical class where you teach both politics and religion in your school curriculum.
Well, I would say that for me, I don't generally teach politics. It's not like part of the teaching practice.
Oh, okay.
It comes up, or there are moments where we want to bring it in.
So it's not in the curriculum.
Well, yeah, we're certainly not telling people what to believe. You have to vote for this side or that side. Mm-hmm. But of course, in life, you want to address the relevant issues of the time and talk about what's happening. So.
Yeah. But I mean, like, Israel has a right-wing president, so he spends a lot of money on defense. And in America, we have more like a Democrat who try to cut down on that and increase in social services and environment and everything. So it's 2 different ways of managing the budget and the people and the human resources and everything else. So you don't make a comparison of these 2 models.
Well, I guess I don't know about, like, how much has Biden cut budget for military? I'm not sure. I want to look into it. I want to understand better, because I know that there's been such excitement and interest in supporting Ukraine, and like there's all kinds of challenges in this world. So indeed, in Israel, there's definitely investment.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, in the military and such matters.
Because they have to defend themselves.
Yeah, because they have to defend themselves. There are a lot of enemies around. But like, you ask, examples of how we would engage with education. We're bringing we're bringing in different folks who have different orientations to what's going on over there to talk about their views and their values, and modeling for our students, how to care, how to be a citizen, how to be invested, in the challenges of the time and in one's community or communities.
Okay, and just to conclude a little bit, do you think the tech world broadened a little bit more these causes of bringing people together in, on the internet and all that? Did it broaden people's view or not really?
I would say that tech has definitely impacted people's views, definitely impacted with whom we can be in dialogue, with whom we're in touch, makes it so much easier to get to know the quote-unquote other. So yes, I would say that has happened. And so on the one hand, it's been such a blessing to be able to be in dialogue with others and to connect. In fact, that's how we connected, is the internet, right? But on the other hand, I think there's also a challenge of the internet, because you generally don't see someone, you don't get to experience them in the flesh, and when you see someone, you can be kinder because you know that they are human and you want to have empathy for them and for where they are and their experience.
That's right. I didn't ask your political views before I invited you. But as an academician, as a teacher, you're not too concerned about my views either when you accept it.
Yeah, I just said, this sounds interesting. How exciting, and I'll have a conversation with someone who's doing interesting work.
Okay, all right, sounds good. So let's pursue this further maybe another day, but thank you so much for taking the time to come here.
Thank you, Aline. Appreciate your time.
Yes, and it has been a pleasure to talk to you.
As a final thing, may I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's change roles here.
Oh, no, I don't know if you'd want to do the beginning again. We could try to, or no?
Yeah, the beginning of
the name thing. But you, because I feel like that was a bad. I don't know if you'd want to put that up because it sounds a little.
Okay, let me see.
I felt bad to interrupt you.
No. It's gonna stay, but remind me.
Sure.
So let me test me now. How do I pronounce your name? Josh Krug.
Krug. Like
Krug.
Champagne, like the champagne.
See,
right?
I didn't
it's a kind
learn.
of champagne.
I'm a hard student.
You're not.
I didn't learn.
I'm trying to be encouraging.
Okay, thank you. See, it's hard to remember things that you don't perceive that way, because I perceived it as RU and you perceived it as OU.
Krug.
Krug is OU.
In French.
Yeah.
But not in English.
So I perceived it from a French point of view.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.